Hey everyone, in this fourth and final part of this series we're going to break down the last 3 points of the USA 2019 National Final, including a couple of contested hucks, an inward pivot leading to some nice flow from Sockeye, and pass-by-pass analysis of the all-important universe point to decide the US men's champions. In the last 2 minutes of the video we'll summarise how Machine's comeback unfolded. We rejoin the match at 11-11, Machine just having scored 5 points in a row.
Double wide. Bravo, Ironside, and now Machine. The journeyman has brought his veteran experience wherever he's been.
Sockeye's fielding of the pull looks nervous as Montague centres to Dixon. They waste no time in getting the disc away from their end zone as Trent Dillon goes deep.
Deep shot for Dillon with 3 Machine defenders, and Goff went up high!
Note how the defenders around the disc pinch into the throwing lane. Bouncefield early on, followed by a flash of a foot from Gibson. The foot forces Dixon to use a higher release for the huck, which adds float and allows the defenders time to make up the ground on Dillon.
Their decision making is just completely off kilter.
This moderate deep separation that Dillon gets on Goff doesn't matter in the end, as Nelson and Graffy are poaching 10 yards and 20 yards off their marks respectively. When the disc arrives, Dillon simply has too much to do. If the huck had been faked, and then an overhead thrown to Raider here, in all that space he could have opened up an opportunity for Sockeye to flow towards the end zone. After 5 points in a row by Machine, it's possible that Sockeye was snatching too keenly at the opportunity for a quick score, abandoning their usual flow in favour of backing their receivers in the long game and throwing to percentages.
For the Sockeye offense,
they are all out of sorts. Gibson looking for a reset. Nelson shakes free, gives it right back to Kurt. There's an injured player in the middle of the field.
Kosedna puts Gibson off the early pass to Bansfield, and then Graffy goes down with an injury. There was contact with Dillon, which was just at an unfortunate angle, and the game stops for 120 seconds as Graffy is helped off.
Looks like Joe White has come into the game in place of Graffy.
Meanwhile, Machine has the disc with a chance to take a lead in the final for the first time. Not just in this game, but ever. Nelson. For Canner. He'll rip it. Bansfield versus Dixon. White and Dillon join the party, and no one can make the clean catch at Sockeye's disc.
Machine's offense is far from smooth, and Sockeye reached several high stall counts as Machine struggled to reset the disc.
Once again, we're seeing how tough these
Canner touches the disc for the first time in the possession and rips it deep.
As Bansfield had some separation,
Joe White arrives as backup but is unable to secure the catch. Bansfield started to go deep from the far side quite early, but the disc takes too long to move, resting in Machine's hands for an average of 4.9 seconds per player for this possession. So Bansfield has to delay his deep cut until Canner gets the disc and looks up. Whilst he's eyeing up the space for a run-up jump, White, Dillon and Matt Russell all arrive, meaning he can't bid early without it being a dangerous play, so he pulls out and doesn't make a bid on the disc. White gets up between the 2 defenders and the disc actually bounces out of his hand, in what could have been the defining catch of the game for this young player, very new on the club's scene. White had actually started to cut deep, but he saw Bansfield cut deep from arguably too deep a position, which makes him hesitate. On defense, Dillon keeps his eye on the thrower throughout the release, and he gets an early read, so he's able to burn past White and get early position. In the end, Dillon can't bid as early as he wants either, because he had flattened Dixon. White gets the best takeoff, but it's just too hectic to secure the catch this time, and Sockeye get possession.
We're seeing how tough these upwind hucks can be, as Bansfield had some separation at the moment Canner released it, but that throw hanging long enough to let several Sockeye defenders and another Machine receiver converge on that disc. Not what Canner wanted at the moment of release.
Another low throw from Dixon, but sliding free child makes the play. Simon Montague's downfield. Dixon's the center handler right now. Here's Rader. It has been a long scoring drought for Seattle Sockeye. Could it end here? Yes!
Bansfield pinches the throwing lane as Sockeye work the disc around the back. Gibson gives Freechild a bit of a push to let him know he's there. Freechild comes under and has to go to ground for a left-handed catch. That Raider sets off deep, and Goff and Canner expertly switch to neutralise the threat. Dixon spots this early and he fakes the huck. Dillon gets the disc in space as White was sucked in by the huck fake. After the disc rests in Dillon's hands for 4.3 seconds, Sockeye flows smoothly to the end zone, each player holding onto the disc for an average of just 1.9 seconds.
You know, coaches like to say that, hey, start your deep cuts from shallow.
But how come they had all these stall zero options? Bansfield has extended his leash on Dixon, trusting that he can switch with a teammate and efficiently stay in the space near the disc. After the switch, Nelson looks to help deep briefly, but because Matt Russell pivots inwards as he catches the disc, he's able to release the crossfield pass within 1.9 seconds and hit Dixon directly.
String of 4 consecutive Chicago breaks.
White is now out of position due to the quick disc movement changing the angle of attack, and his bid on the scoring pass is as good as it can be without causing contact. Dillon's holding his ground, he's not opening up the window for the D by shying away. This is the third time in this point that a player has adjusted the bid to avoid dangerous contact with an opponent. It's great to see players at this level using their athleticism not only to make bids, but also to avoid risking the safety of their opponents. White here having to make a late adjustment on the very last step in order to avoid contact.
And if Sockeye is going to break to win this game,
Joe White and Paul Arders, no Kurt Gibson on this machine O point. Arders underneath. Low to North, but he bids to keep possession alive. And then squeezing it into the small space that Joe White had created. Getting Howe. Little give and go with North. Now Arders. To Giannis. To Howe.
At match point Sockeye, their first pull and 6 points go sailing out of bounds.
For the first time since 2016, the USA Ultimate Men's Final goes to Universe Point.
At the moment of the check, they're marking 1-to-1 against a tight vert stack and poaching off Yiding Howe in the reset position. Howe is interestingly setting up downfield of the disc, which enables Machine to immediately make use of that space. Keegan North pulls 2 defenders deep with this cut, allowing Arters to get free under. North makes a nice layout to keep the disc alive, and the Sockeye defense is revealed to be force middle. Friedman bites on the inside fake, and White pivots aggressively inwards after catching, but the Sockeye defense is doing well to stifle the stall zero options and force the disc to continue moving across the back. Howe throws and immediately accelerates cross field. North turns inwards on his catch and accelerates out of his throw using excellent technique and balance control. On defense, Snell recognizes the crossfield threat and he switches to stifle North's move. Machine's attack immediately changes direction as North turns the crossfield move into a fake and attacks up line. Kulzak and Snell switch to also neutralize this move, which leaves a pocket of space in front of Arters. If Howe had continued his move after reversing the flow, then he could have used his pocket and it would have been dangerous for Sockeye with or without the second switch. Instead, he sets up in the conventional static dump position, allowing Friedman a rare opportunity to reposition. Giannis touches the disc for the first time since bricking the pull, fakes the flick continuation before throwing the around break backhand to a well-timed cut from Howe. The fake keeps Friedman occupied for just long enough, moves the mark over to the open side, and gives Howe something to synchronize his cut with. Machine's vertical stack counters the force middle from Sockeye nicely as it opens up around break channels towards the sidelines. 7 points ago, Sockeye were up 11-6. After a 6-1 comeback run by Machine, it's now 12-12, Universe Point in the men's final of the 2019 Club Nationals.
As a fan, this is all you could ask for as Gibson pulls on Universe. Jannon underneath. Marked by Weaver. Low throw, but Murray's there. And across midfield for Russell.
Ooh, and
to Raider. Here's Freechild. Looking for its first title since 2007. Chicago Machine looking for its first title ever. Stall count rising. Raider gets free. Back to Freechild. And into the end zone, Jacob Jannon. Seattle Sockeye.
Sockeye set up a stack whilst Canna poaches off the dump to disrupt the throwing lane. Montague breaks to Jannon, and Canna continues to roam in the downfield throwing lane, so the disc swings back over to Murray, who continues to rustle for yards on the sideline. There's some unfortunate hand-to-face contact between Gibson and Montague, and then play stops for 35 seconds, giving the players a chance to reassess the field. Raider uses his separation to cut into the backfield, and Bansfield forces an unfavourable backwards inside break throw. This extreme force from Bansfield allows Russell to take off deep, but the move is negated by a pick.
this offense excelling.
20 seconds of stoppage later, with a rising stall count, it begins to look like Freechild is in trouble. But Raider is surprisingly free up the line. Freechild follows his throw to receive a return pass in the narrow channel, Goff switches to help, and Freechild dishes to Jannon for the winning score. Check out Jannon's footwork as he throws off Weaver to get free at the front corner. But how did Freechild get out of the high stall count situation, and how was Raider so free up the line? Late in the stall, Goff flash poaches into the backfield space, gambling on the disc being released but allowing Raider to get free downfield. Raider and Rice cross paths, which is an indication that a switch could work, but Gibson is already committed under and it's outside his field of vision. Canna also thinks about the switch, and he flash poaches in sync with Freechild's pivot, but doesn't follow through with the move. The switch was definitely an option here due to Raider crossing paths with Murray. If this trigger had been recognised and acted upon early by Canna, then Goff could have easily picked up Murray and neutralised all of Sockeye's options late in the stall. When Freechild receives the return pass, instead of automatically pivoting and faking down the sideline, he adopts a neutral stance looking infield. This means the defense has to mark honest whilst he keeps his cards close to his chest. Freechild's use of these critical few moments after catching the disc, combined with Jannon's excellent footwork, create a window which is only just big enough and only just kept long enough open for the scoring pass.
Quick disc movement. Giving and going.
9 points ago, with Sockeye leading 10-6, they started to falter with overthrows. Machine's clogging, flash poaching, and highly aware defense was always ready to pounce, taking away Sockeye's confidence, causing them to hesitate, and punishing them for predictable moves. When Machine scored, it was usually from 1 or 2 passes after a turnover, while Gibson and Bansfield patiently looking for opportunities from the back. White, Canna and Howe also made big contributions to Machine's late run on offense, but Machine did give Sockeye the disc back a couple of times. With the game tied at 11, Sockeye faked the long throws which hadn't been working out for them, worked the disc under, and took advantage of Machine's clogging and flash poaching with patience on high stalls and quick disc movement on low stalls.
Won by Seattle Sockeye. This program wins its 4th national championship, its first in a dozen years. Anything is possible.
The last point saw Freechild following his throw to get into a powerful position outside the end zone, where some great footwork by both the thrower and catcher secured Sockeye's first USAU Nationals victory in 12 years. I hope you enjoyed this series, stay tuned for more, and I'll see you again soon.
Surviving the valiant comeback effort from Machine. And in a weekend